Hello, and welcome back to my channel. So for this month's Airs Analyze, we are doing a much requested album, and that is RAYE's debut album, My 21st Century Blues. And this album was a long time coming, years in the making, and to me, well worth the wait, so let's go ahead and get into the album. But before we do, two things. First and foremost, most of you are already aware, these are Airs Analyze, which means we do a retrospective of the era in its entirety, but it's not necessarily a track-by-track album review, though definitely, we're going to talk about the album because how could we not? And then for this album specifically, because it is very biographical or autobiographical, I should say, for RAYE, she's talking about a lot of personal struggles, turbulence, turmoil she's gone through in her life. I will have to redact quite a few words. I'd honestly rather not, that way we can just sort of actually speak about what she's speaking about, which we will, but there will be some redactions, and y'all know the drill, YouTube surveillance state or whatever. So let's go ahead and get into My 21st Century Blues. After leaving her former label Polydor Records in 2021, RAYE set out to make music as an independent artist, no longer beholden by a label's rules. RAYE actually tweeted about this, saying that while with Polydor, she was making music she wasn't proud of and didn't feel true to her. And because of this, she felt pretty directionless in her career and was shutting herself off from loved ones and abusing substances. She said she had written albums worth of music over the years she was with Polydor, most of which never saw the light of day. RAYE concluded the tweet saying, "I'm done being a polite pop star. I want to make my album now. Please, that is all I want." And 3 weeks after those tweets, she was released from her label.
I was just trying to get on with it, Louis, and this is the thing. When I became sober, I realised, wow, I can't do this sober. This is deep. What I'd realised, I'd actually been doing to myself as a person to try and be somebody that they wanted me to be, and it's so sad.
And not free to make the music she wanted to, RAYE set out to make her album very personal to her and her experiences. She said that each track represents her blues, aka a hardship or event she had to overcome. The album's lead single, the aptly named Hard Out Here, was released in June of 2022 and was RAYE's first release as an independent artist. The cover art shows her head between a man's hands, likely representing her being controlled in her career and maybe even her life to an extent. RAYE opens making it clear she's going to be honest as this song and this album rollout unfolds, singing,
"After years and fears and smiling through my tears, all I ask of you is open your ears."
And throughout, RAYE switches between singing and melodic rapping, talking about the hardships of life that can truly feel unconquerable, from poverty to drug addiction to being assaulted. But in the chorus, RAYE maintains, "Baby, I bounce back." In the fifth verse, she mentions white man CEOs, saying she's basically ready for battle, legal battle if need be, and it seems like this is probably the part of the song that inspired the cover art.
"White men CEOs, fuck your privilege. Get your pink chubby hands off my mouth, fuck you think this is."
She makes several references to Christianity in the song, saying at one point if she weren't a Christian, all the troubles that she went through probably would have ended her life. In the fourth verse, as well as the chorus, RAYE sings, "No weapon formed against me shall ever prosper," which comes from Isaiah 54:17. On the other hand, though, RAYE refers to her pen as a weapon earlier in the song, calling it a gun, but it's a weapon formed for her, by her, and in her favor, and it definitely will prosper. And in the bridge, Hard Out Here shifts from this chill yet firm hip-hop track to these dramatic swelling strings, as RAYE condemns someone, probably her label, for not seeing her worth.
"You gon' have to see me now, shining, hyped up, blinded, very fucking frightening."
Hard Out Here then ends on that Isaiah 54:17 verse that I mentioned earlier. So though it's not the album's opening track, it works perfectly as a lead single because it lets us know this album will not only be about a reflection of the hardship RAYE's gone through, but also her detailing her journey of getting through it. RAYE said about writing the song, "At the time of writing the first lines, you feel very small, insignificant. Then at the end of the process, you explode with joy. I really needed to tell all this." She also called the songwriting experience creepy and cathartic. And though she wrote many of the album's songs alone, this one she wrote with famed songwriter Justin Tranter. In the music video, we see RAYE performing in several different looks, all very sexy and male-gazy. We can see the men that she's performing for, but only the backs of their heads, so our focus is on RAYE, but we're still aware that she's performing. Even in the white sort of marbly look, it seems like she's in the room by herself, but she is being gazed at through a peephole. And toward the end of the video and in the final chorus of the song, RAYE removes the black and white wig, showing off her own copper hair, also signifying she's done with the performing, at least performing for the gratification of other people. And the video ends with a teaser of the next single, Black Mascara, with footage of RAYE walking through her hometown of Croydon. And on the track listing of the album, Black Mascara does follow Hard Out Here. Black Mascara continues with a similar theme of having been mistreated, the person having made RAYE cry several times, hence the black mascara running down her face. Throughout the chorus, she sings, "You selfish man, do you understand how it feels and what you've done to me?" in the first half, and then she changes from "what you've done to me" to "you're done to me" in the second half, going from trying to get him to understand what he did to her, how she feels, to that not really mattering and her not needing that explanation or closure before moving on. In this one, her vocals are very auto-tuned and distorted, making her sound like some robotic chorus.
Mascara run from you into my mama's head.
Before the song picks up into this electronic dance track, still full of those distorted echoing vocals. RAYE said she wanted to juxtapose this raw story of betrayal she was telling by accompanying it with more upbeat music. And dance music is something that typically does resonate with people, or at the very least will get them on the dance floor dancing, and RAYE said her goal with this album was to talk about her blues but also have them be relatable and representative to other listeners. Black Mascara becomes more lyrically dense in the second half of the song, around the third verse, detailing one of those nights out at the club where you're on one, but it doesn't really make you feel any better, you come to realize.
Dripped on the photo, sipped on the bottle, serious. Tell them hoes to be man in their bed.
That's perfectly represented by the line, "Now I can't come down," or "it pours," basically saying that she's got to keep herself numb, distracted, and high, or she'll have to face her real feelings, and that's the last thing she wants to do because she'll break down. In the music video, in the beginning, RAYE enters this very dark pool hall, and though her strut is confident and commands power, we see very soon after it's basically just a facade, and she's trying to keep herself together. But just when the song does, she gets a burst of energy, and she and her friends, aka the backup dancers, slide into some choreo. It almost looks like something she's envisioning in her mind while she's sitting down in the pool hall, and the purposeful lagging on the shots makes it look kind of like a time lapse or very dreamlike. And as the song and video ends, RAYE's face falls and she just walks off as if that whole dance number felt good in the moment, but she realized it didn't leave her any happier in the end. RAYE performed Black Mascara as well as Hard Out Here on her small tour titled The Story So Far, which happened in the fall of 2022. With only 6 dates, the intimate show saw RAYE doing a stripped back set, like from her EP Euphoric Sad Songs, as well as the new releases from her upcoming album. 6 songs from My 21st Century Blues were on the set list. And in between songs, RAYE would tell stories about her life and her career and the direction she intended for it to go now that she was independent and now that her debut album, which was 7 years in the making, was finally on the horizon. She said in a separate interview that at 17, when she had signed with Polydor, she would have never imagined getting an album out would have taken this long. Despite that, and you know what, probably even because of that, she was clear her plan was to make her art the way she wanted to, saying, "My goal is to bring artistic excellence and be as great as I am capable of being. If that catches a wave, then amazing, but I'm not going to let that freak me out or steer my plans or alter my purpose, and that is to put out music I love and believe in." And little did RAYE know at the time, her breakout song, Escapism, was actually on the set list. This is the album's 3rd single, released doubly with The Thrill Is Gone. The song begins with these siren-sounding synths before a drum set comes in, followed by RAYE.
Sleazing and teasing,
And that siren and alarm sound remains throughout the entire song, keeping you on edge for the near 3-minute duration. However, when RAYE begins singing, it fades out just a little bit so you can still hear it, maybe could almost miss it, but you still have this sense of, can't put my finger on it, but something feels off, something feels weird vibe throughout the song.
I don't trust any of these bitches I'm with.
Mike Sabbath, who also produced this song, made a TikTok showing the process, saying it was pretty easy to produce Escapism because RAYE is such a good writer.
So then we kind of kept adding sections. My job gets really, really easy when you have one of the greatest writers and artists of all time.
So it's probably easy for him to sonically match the emotion she was putting into words. The drums, the piano, and the guitar solo in the song are actually all him playing. Again, RAYE does some melodic rapping on the verses and does more singing on the chorus and bridge. The way she delivers the verses makes it feel as if she's just dumping out her thoughts and what she observes as it happens, which is what RAYE was going for, but it does ironically take a lot of planning and drafting to achieve that matter-of-factness.
Drunk text, drunk tears, drunk sex. I was looking for a man who was on the same page.
Escapism is framed around a breakup and RAYE hooking up with another guy that she doesn't necessarily like in order to get over her boyfriend dumping her. Again, she's honest about numbing herself, stating, "And I don't want to feel how my heart is ripping. In fact, I don't want to feel, so I stick to sipping." Despite being self-destructive, she's also very self-aware. Like, you can tell she doesn't agree with what she's doing. She's a little disappointed in herself maybe, but that doesn't necessarily stop her from running from her feelings. The song features 070 Shake, who joins RAYE for a verse in the song, the final 2 choruses, and the bridge. Her entrance into the song has this haunting, eerie feeling, kind of reflecting that dark, destructive path Raye is on in this song.
But yeah, it's one of them ones in them moments where you've had drinks and then you're like, right, I'm ringing my ex, I'm ringing people for attention and for feelings. Like, we're all victim of it, I think, when, you know, you're going through it and you're liquored.
In the third verse, Raye acknowledges her behavior is ineffective, claiming, "So you'll run, yeah, but you'll never escape." Yet the song ends with Raye narrating yet another hookup while under the influence, saying she's mixing pills and liquor, ignoring the people she actually knows, yet spilling her secrets to strangers because it feels less consequential. And though a breakup is used as a catalyst for her behavior in the song, Raye said escapism is mainly about her substance abuse, which she wanted to be open about and work through on this album. She told NME, "As someone who has battled with the subjects I'm talking about, it's not necessarily seen as attractive for women to address substance abuse so head-on and so viscerally. It's really difficult as a woman battling those demons specifically because there's no healthy outlet." We get another dark music video, this one lit with saturated hues of red, and Raye finds herself on the prowl in a packed nightclub. The others in the club stand still like mannequins, even the man Raye's dancing on, showing a disconnect from her and everyone else, but also showing having that connection is not really her priority. I also noticed that speaking in terms of the singles, this is the third time in a row that Raye's referenced looking great on the outside and being all dressed up, but feeling terrible and empty on the inside.
And I'm out on the town with a simple mission. In my little black dress and this shit is sitting.
Like in the cover art, the violin or cello symbolizes a drug, which she also takes orally in the video, leading to some weird hallucination-looking shots. I like the idea that having that little violin represent a pill or a tab probably means that now instead of running to drugs when she's got something to work through, now Raye puts herself in her music. Like I mentioned earlier, the song was Raye's breakout hit as it went viral on TikTok, with over 1 million videos being made with the song. Speaking as an American, I think on top of the lyrics being able to resonate with people, I think a lot of us do love when an accent can be heard clearly in a song, because in quite a few songs, accents are lost or flattened out. On Spotify, the original version of Escapism has nearly 800 million plays, with the sped up version having pulled in over 250 million. The song earned Raye her first entry in the Hot 100, where the song peaked at number 22, as well as her first number 1 on the UK singles chart. The song has gone platinum in the US and double platinum in the UK. The Thrill Is Gone, the other single released with Escapism, has a more upbeat classic rock feel to it.
Dark words from his dark mind, now there's dark stains under my eyes.
This one again references Raye's substance abuse, but this one kind of feels like the morning after Escapism, where she realizes the drugs, the hookups, the avoidance of any substance in her relationships, other than the drugs of course, amounts to nothing pleasant. Raye said the song is about a dying spark in a relationship, and she seems more aware she doesn't really like or mesh with a lot of the people she's been involving herself with, but at the same time did still kind of want them around because she's lonely and they were the only options she had left. But different from Escapism, she's not like, well, guess that means I have to deal with them. In The Thrill Is Gone, it seems more like she realizes it's a mess of her own making, and one that's probably better to fix even if it's difficult. In the middle of the bridge, she sings,
Gotta get on the road now, gotta shake a little dust off.
I love this bridge. It adds another little burst of energy into the song, and with Raye's very retro 60s styling that she has a lot, you can imagine some backup singers behind her at this part doing some little two-step choreography or something while Raye sings the lead. And I know that Amy Winehouse comparisons are everywhere because she and Raye have a very similar singing style, similar inspirations, but I really do feel it in The Thrill Is Gone. And in the chorus, I can't explain it well, but this feels like one of those songs that would play in an advertisement for a hit series back in the day. And Raye has actually said The Thrill Is Gone was a raw recording, meaning there's no auto-tune in the track to capture those raw emotions. Raye also said there's nothing digital in the track, so I'm going to assume that Mike Sabbath and maybe even his band, because Mike has production music credits on the song, provided some of the instrumentation. In October of 2022, so just a couple of days after putting out Escapism and The Thrill Is Gone, Raye officially announced her long-awaited debut album. Raye said about it, "My 21st Century Blues, my debut album, my ugly, complex, beautiful mosaic formed from broken pieces of glass from the last 7 years of my life. My medicine, my anxieties and traumas, my unfiltered thoughts. This music accompanied me through my bluest blues, crafted unapologetically and fearlessly with love and tears, and now I can only hope it might provide the same medicine it did for me for those who choose to listen. I can't believe it is really happening, my first album." In the physical copies of the album, Raye explains the heavy blues influence in some of the songs was inspired by a trip to the US she took when she was 14, and that she'd been in love with the blues ever since. Different from the darkness in a lot of the videos for the album, the cover for My 21st Century Blues is almost completely stark white, but there is a similar emptiness and hollowness. Those heels apparently are meant to symbolize how she felt forced to mature and sexualize her image from a young age in the industry. There's an outreach hand, which looks like the same CEO hands from the Hard Out Here cover, buried by all of the instruments, and for once, RAYE has come out on top. We can't tell if she's going to take the CEO's hand and help him up, but based on what's in the album, the answer seems like a resounding no, as her main focus is keeping herself afloat and giving anyone who hurt her or almost ruined her that chance again. She later did a similar shoot to promote the album, in which she looks like a more confident, fully realized, more RAYE version than the depiction of her younger self on the album's cover. Either the day before the album's release or the same day, I'm not quite sure, RAYE put out Ice Cream Man, the album's fourth single. The song details her experience with sexual assault on more than one occasion, it seems, and are trying to reckon with the aftermath. She blames herself at points for not knowing the intentions of the producer who assaulted her in the beginning of the song, for not taking any legal action against any of these men, and not being able to move on from it so easily, falling into substance abuse to cope.
Your fingerprint stuck a stain on my skin. You made me frame myself for your sin.
In the song, the Ice Cream Man is meant to represent someone safe or nice, who as children we often run to because we doubt they'll do us any harm. But as unassuming as someone may seem, that doesn't mean that they don't have bad intentions or necessarily are a safe person to be around, and sometimes that deception is precisely how they victimize people. In the chorus, though, RAYE celebrates her strength and resilience, singing, "I'm a very fucking brave, strong woman, and I'll be damned if I let a man ruin how I walk, how I talk, how I do it."
You know, when you're young and hungry, like, you're very vulnerable. I was extremely vulnerable and sadly in some really tough, horrible scenarios. You know, there are some women out there who have the strength to just be like, do you know what? I'm going to deal with this head on, and they're extremely brave, and I don't personally have that strength. So for me, my way of being able to be loud about something that I've been so quiet about for so many years was through music, you know.
The music video, which RAYE self-directed, again is very dark, obviously on theme, and in the beginning she cries alone in a bathroom stall, seemingly reflecting on or remembering an assault that happened. But when she leaves the stall, she continues to be groped and fondled by faceless men. I've also noticed, looking at a lot of RAYE's videos and the cover arts for this album, she makes use of these disembodied hands a lot, which I first mentioned when talking about Hard Out Here. Back in the Escapism video, similar disembodied hands put the violin pill in her mouth, though they look like women's hands. It seems like this is her way of representing doing something that she doesn't want to do, even if she comes to that realization after the fact, or being in a situation that she does not want to be in. Back to the Ice Cream Man video, after all of these hands touch on her, she collapses in the bathroom again, like the cycle has repeated itself all over. But at the end of the video, she is able to pick herself up, and though she's not fully healed and not happy, still carries that trauma with her, of course, she is able to exit. On February 3rd of 2023, my 21st Century Blues was finally released. The album peaked at number 2 in the UK, but did go number 1 in their independent albums charts, and peaked at number 58 on the Billboard 200. Met with near universal acclaim, critics praised RAYE's rawness and openness in her lyricism, and her ability to create songs that were obviously personal, but still captured such universal and relatable experiences. The biggest repeated criticisms I saw were that in some ways the album might have lacked thematic clarity, and that some of the more jazz, retro-influenced tracks packed less of a punch than RAYE's more upbeat, contemporary-sounding music. For example, in their review, Pitchfork wrote, "Against these sprawling, innovative pop songs, the old-school sheen of tracks like The Thrill Is Gone and Worth It looks dull. Keen's powerhouse voice sounds robust paired with soft harmonies, a brass section, and funk guitars, but these retro stylings feel like her comfort zone." Other reviews found those more retro-leaning tracks to be the album's highlights. For example, Enemy, who claimed, "The stripped-back Mary Jane transports you to a jazzy speakeasy through its biting guitar riffs and subtle rhythm section, while the funk-laced Worth It could be a Lost Silk sonic track. The brass-heavy The Thrill Is Gone is an excellent modern soul offering, its lush instrumental arrangements evoking Amy Winehouse's Back to Black." The album feels like a bookended story with both an opening and closing track. In the introduction, a piano plays, glasses clink, so we feel like we're in some sort of cabaret or club setting, and over the jazzy piano, RAYE, Mike Sabbath, and his band the Moon Girls are introduced, receiving a round of applause.
We've got a very special guest for you tonight coming on.
Their introduction transitions right into the first song on the album, Oscar-winning Tears. RAYE tells everyone to buckle up and turn off their phones before she starts singing over this stripped-back piano trap melody. She sings about a nondescript man who broke her heart, and the drums pound for emphasis when she keeps telling him to cry his Oscar-winning tears. So another song about being taken for granted and manipulated in the relationship.
Oh, what a tragedy. It didn't have to be. Look how you talk to me. Cursing and blasphemy.
Despite its kind of modern production, the song sounds mostly classic, one of those ones where you think, ooh, I need to hear this live to get the full effect. Body Dysmorphia is another similar, very hip-hop influenced song that mixes classic instrumentation in it. This one leans a little more hip-hop than Oscar-winning Tears, though. And as the title suggests, this one is about Raye's struggles with her body and trying to meet the impossible and ever-changing beauty standards and struggling with an eating disorder because of trying to meet them.
Can't sleep, but I know if I eat, then I'll be in the bathroom on my knees.
She also sings about getting high quite often so that she can avoid being preoccupied with her body. And Raye actually has a song on this album called Mary Jane, an entire song about her unhealthy relationship with weed, codeine, ecstasy, and alcohol, and how it helped her cope with her body struggles and other worries. That song to me kind of sounds like a mix between something you'd hear in an old cowboy western and a Janelle Monáe song. And coming back to Body Dysmorphia, Raye comes to the realization in that song that while she might not have the best relationship with her body, she should treat it better because it's the only one she has. So, that also does kind of relate to Mary Jane. In the ending of the song, Raye expresses how she wishes she'd look when she's older and what cosmetic procedures she'd do. I'm not sure exactly when she wrote this song because it was also one that was written from the past. I think most of the songs on the album are, but she does end the song saying that if she doesn't feel pretty, she'll be sad. In a separate interview, Raye mentioned her body image issues were affecting her career as she'd go on stage wearing so many Spanx and a corset so tight that she could barely sing and hit notes. The last song on this album is Bust It Down, which I wouldn't necessarily say is a funny song, but the juxtaposition between the lyrics and the production itself is entertaining. It sounds like a gospel song about twerking, which really shouldn't work, but it kind of does. Because it's not a club or party anthem, but one of self-acceptance and release. Throughout my 21st Century Blues, Raye has been anxious, vulnerable, broken, betrayed. But in Bust It Down, she's like, I still have enough left in me to throw it back.
Oh, I'm gonna back it up and bring it down, and he's gonna love it.
But for the right person, the right people who actually make her feel happy and supported, those are the people she wants to dance with. And it's been a journey to discover who she should and shouldn't be as uninhibited with. She also sings about having realigned her priorities now that she's got a better support system and can focus on having a career that she actually wants. The song slides into the album's closing, and we return to that stripped-back piano, and Raye thanks her listeners, her producers, her engineers, and her family. And she also reminds us this album was 7 years in the making, and she's just so happy that it's finally out. Each of the track titles on my 21st Century Blues is punctuated with a period. To me, that sort of reiterated that each song is a story and atmosphere of its own, and then when the song ends, it feels like that specific chapter, that aspect of Raye's blues is closed, and then we move on to the next. And looking up why exactly she did this, Raye said almost the same, claiming, I'd like to think they're little stories. So the song titles have a capital letter at the beginning and a period at the end. So Escapism full stop because it's a whole story in itself. Sometimes people tell me, oh, you're too much, it's too much. And I'm like, no, these are storybooks. I'm not going to condense them down, full stop. I think this especially makes sense because the songs were written over multiple years, so even if they do convey similar themes, Raye might have been in a different place when each song was written. A few weeks after the album's release, Raye embarked on the My 21st Century Blues tour, starting with the European and North American leg. She later added several more European and North American legs to the tour, as well as an Oceanian leg. It was on this tour that she performed the album's next single, Flip a Switch, live for the first times. Technically, the remix version of the song with Coi Leray was made a single, but Raye almost always performed the original version of the song by herself. Because Raye often does a lot of that melodic style rapping on this album and Coi actually raps her verse in an English accent, it did take me a couple listens to figure out where Raye's verse ends and Coi's feature begins. I think Flip a Switch might be my favorite on this album. I love the punching production, the blend of hip-hop bass with strings and gospel-like vocals, and when she performs the song live, she adds all these extra runs and there's a more jazzy feel to the song than the original. And in Flip a Switch, Raye sounds not necessarily reckless like she does in Escapism, but still more hardened. She says she learned her lesson about letting her guard down too quickly, and for that reason is a lot less likely to allow herself to be vulnerable. And now she's not as broken over these men when they let her down and betray her, because she's come to expect it and manages her expectations accordingly. And she's quick to block, ghost, or cut someone off.
Don't fret me or talk to me ever like that. I got brothers in the ends, I'll pull up right now.
And in the song, she's not saying that she doesn't believe in love necessarily, but is able to turn those emotions off much quicker when it's obvious she's not about to get that in return. Today years old when I found out this song was originally meant to be a collaboration with Normani. In October of 2023, RAYE released My 21st Century Symphony. It's the live version of her album performed at the Royal Albert Hall the month prior. The performance was recorded and also turned into a concert film released this January. RAYE was joined by the Heritage Orchestra as well as the choir The Flames Collective. The Flames Collective is made of inner-city secondary school students who are given the opportunity to perform and pursue a career in music. I think this was a great move because the songs on the album, many of them were already recorded with live instruments and already get you in the mood of having wanted to hear RAYE do these songs live with a live band. And the songs have the right amount of drama. RAYE's vocals have enough power to carry a concert like this. The arrangements are kept mostly the same, with the orchestra and gospel only magnifying the energy and emotion in the songs. And like I thought it would, Bust It Down sounds even better, almost perfect if you will, with a live choir. Also, like I predicted, Oscar-winning Tears sounds beautiful live. Obviously, the whole album sounds beautiful live with this orchestra, with this choir. But the one I think sounds the best live, though, is Worth It. The original version of this song is very jazz and funk influenced, and as soon as RAYE begins singing, she's accompanied by trumpets and pianos. The song then does a little bait and switch where it speeds up slightly into a mid-tempo R&B song on the verses, but then pulls back again on the pre-chorus with those gospel backing vocals. And then on the chorus, all of those elements come together: the jazz, the R&B, the pop, the funk.
Worth it, ooh. Worth all of the time I'm about to give you back.
In the best way possible. This sounds like one of those songs where if you heard it blasting on a weekend morning from your bed, you're like, yup, we're cleaning the house. It's just very reminiscent of a classic 70s funk song mixed with some British pop sensibilities. RAYE actually said that she felt like she went back in time while recording this song because they used a live band and decided to all get dressed up to even better get in the mood for the recording. And in Worth It, RAYE is finally in a romantic mood. Still a cautious one because she only wants the romance if the guy knows what he's doing and he can treat her right. But RAYE is actually optimistic and sees the potential in the person and future with them. And in the Royal Albert Hall version, RAYE does open this song by saying the man in fact wasn't worth it. He's now married, but she still stands by the feeling in the song because someone out there might be worth it for her.
Baby, would you make it alright?
And as I was saying, this is one of the ones that sounds better live, which is why I'm sure this song has gotten so many live performances. Having an entire orchestra not only amplifies the volume of the song, but it almost sounds like it's just bursting with joy. Not only was My 21st Century Blues met with acclaim, but also several accolades. RAYE swept this year's Brit Awards, winning 6 of her 7 nominations. This earned her the record of having the most nominations in a year for a single artist, as well as the single artist to win the most awards in a night. Previously, Harry Styles held the record with 4 wins. RAYE took home Best New Artist, British Artist of the Year, British Album of the Year, Best R&B Act, and Songwriter of the Year. Notably, she became the first woman in the awards history to win Songwriter of the Year. And she actually won that award first in the night, so it was also her first Brit Award ever. For Escapism, RAYE also won Song of the Year, having been nominated against herself because of her feature in the song Prada. Last year when the Grammy nominations were announced, a lot of people were surprised that RAYE received 0 nominations, which seems a bit more confusing when you put into perspective how many Brit Awards she took home. But of course, different countries, different tastes, music politics are different. Last November, when those nominations came out, RAYE tweeted that she was both still grateful and hungry, ending her tweet saying, "The Grammys are awarded for the best music has to offer, and I have barely scratched the surface of what I know musically I can give." And RAYE did tease a new song at the Brit Awards, so we might get to see very soon how she chooses to expand and branch out in her artistry. Regardless, My 21st Century Blues is a story of both resilience in RAYE's personal life and in her career and in the crossover between the two. I'm not sure if this technically is a concept album, but to me it feels like one, because each song is centered around something that gave RAYE the blues, which is the uniting concept. And then on top of that, titling it My 21st Century Blues sort of expands that concept to the listener, letting us know the music is from RAYE's perspective, but since we're all living in the 21st century, we can probably relate to a lot of the struggles, the heartbreaks, and the insecurities that she faces. Personally, I think that's why I enjoy this album so much, because I haven't been through every single thing RAYE has, RAYE hasn't been through every single thing that I have, but the way that she expresses herself, how descriptive and really frank that she is, you can connect on a very emotional level at least. And though we live in different countries, because we're pretty much the same age, I do feel like I understand more or less exactly what's being conveyed in songs like Body Dysmorphia, for example, because we're both products of the 21st century, so still have to reckon with similar standards, ideologies, especially now that those things can go global in seconds with the advent of social media. But as contemporary as this album feels, even if it's within the themes, the messages conveyed in the songs and not in the sound of some of the songs themselves, Though these are songs I can relate to in this moment, they also very much feel like songs that capture the universal, if not timeless, struggles of being a young woman trying to make it in the music industry, and honestly the world, and still be able to both have confidence in herself and in her art, and believe in her own self-worth, which does feel realized by the time we reach the album's end. And of course, as always, do be sure to let me know your thoughts and your feelings on RAYE's My 21st Century Blues. Like I said, very relatable album, very timely album, and I really do not only love but appreciate it. And y'all know the drill by now. I'm gonna leave y'all with a question. Would you consider My 21st Century Blues to be a concept album? Like I said, I would, but I would like to hear your thoughts and your opinions either way. As always, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so that you can stick around for more. And if you'd like to become a channel member and get early access to videos, the link is in the description. Again, thank you so much for watching. I love you all so very much, and we'll see you so very soon. Bye-bye.